Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining. We'll give just another minute or so for some more folks to join, and then we'll go ahead and get started. All right, we will go ahead and begin. So hello again, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar, which is hosted by Hepatitis Delta Connect. My name is Beatrice Sovich, and I'm a public health program manager at the Hepatitis B Foundation and the manager of Hepatitis Delta Connect. Thank you all for tuning in today. Today's webinar is focused on the lived experience of hepatitis delta, so we will have an opportunity to hear from people who have been personally affected by hepatitis delta and are either living with the virus themselves or have a loved one who is. And they will share insights about their experiences and will speak specifically to their navigation of hepatitis delta diagnosis, treatment, and management, and will address the other ways in which hepatitis delta has impacted their lives. So we look forward to hearing their stories. Next slide, please. Thank you. So before we get started, I would like to remind all participants that during today's webinar, all audience members are muted. We encourage you to use the chat feature to tell us who you are and where you are joining from. And if you have any technical challenges, please indicate your issue using the chat box and we'll address it as soon as possible. And if at any time during the presentation you have a question, you can feel free to enter questions into the Q&A box. Questions will be addressed by the speakers at the conclusion of the presentation. And the session is also being recorded and the slide presentation will be shared following the webinar. Next slide, please. So a quick overview of Hep Delta Connect. Hepatitis Delta Connect is a dedicated program of the Hepatitis B Foundation established in 2016 for the explicit purpose of raising awareness about hepatitis delta and promoting diagnosis, screening, research, and treatment, as well as providing support to those who are living with and affected by Hep Delta through a variety of channels, including email and phone consults, social media, newsletters, blog posts, and a website, as well as webinars such as this one. And we're hoping to continue to build and expand our programming throughout 2022 and 2023. And we will keep you posted about these developments and further opportunities to get involved. Next slide, please. Thank you. So a quick introduction to our speakers. So we're very excited to be honored. We're very excited and honored to be joined today by 4 really wonderful speakers from around the world. So the panelists include Basu Laksaran, who is a doctor at UB Songdo Hospital in Mongolia, where she works to improve the Mongolian healthcare system and its management as the head of healthcare quality and patient safety. And her husband is currently living with chronic hepatitis B and delta, as well as liver cirrhosis. We're also joined by Ibrahima Guiye, who is the founding president of the Safara Hepatitis Senegal Association, and is also a member of the board of directors of the African Liver Patient Association and the Hepatitis Francophonie African Alliance. And he was living with hepatitis B and D, but received a liver transplant in 2021. So today he's become negative for hepatitis delta and for hepatitis B, and he's decided to dedicate the rest of his life to the fight against hepatitis. Our third panelist is Danielle Raphael. He works as a real estate financing associate at an Israeli law firm. And her mother is Romanian and living with hepatitis B and delta, which she contracted from an unsterilized needle. And Danielle also does work with the foundation that saves animals from shelters and the streets. And then our final panelist, who we're very excited to welcome, is Lori Scott, who is a nonprofit management professional with a medical background. And she is the founder and executive director of Little Miracles International, which is a nonprofit international humanitarian organization that is headquartered in Amarillo, Texas, in the United States. And she's the mother of 2 beautiful daughters who are adopted from Romania, one of whom is living with hepatitis delta. So we're very excited to hear from all of our panelists today, and we're grateful to them for joining us. So without further ado, we will go ahead and get started. So Shreya, if you want, you can stop sharing the screen. Thank you so much. So today we're going to have just an informal conversation that is guided by some questions, and then we'll open it up to the audience for Q&A. And a reminder to please put any questions you might have in the Q&A box as they come up. So I will start by just asking everybody to please briefly introduce yourself and please describe your experience with hepatitis delta diagnosis of yourself or your loved one, if you can. Basi, would you like to go first?
Okay. Hello, everyone. First of all, thank you for inviting me for this webinar as a panelist. My name is Basun, and you can call me Basu shortly. It's very easy to pronounce. Yeah. So I am from Mongolia, and I am a medical doctor. I have been working in a medical sector for 11 years. And for the last 3 years, I'm working as a head of quality and patient safety department, because in Mongolia, especially because some developing countries, especially in our country, medical healthcare quality is not so good. That's why lots of patients harmed by medical services. Yeah, so that's why I decided to work at this department. Yeah. About 9 years ago, my husband was diagnosed with hepatitis B and D, and also he diagnosed with liver cirrhosis. So from that time, we have regular medical checkups for her hepatitis. Yeah. It's just general information about me.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for sharing.
Thank you.
Danielle, would you like to go next?
Yes, hello everyone. Nice to meet you, and thank you for inviting me to talk at this panel. And so as Beatrice already said, I have basically zero medical background. I'm a lawyer, I do real estate. Unfortunately, I think these days I have a lot of medical background that this mattered to, thanks to online research, reading all over. So these days I know everything about it. My mother was born in Romania, and she got diagnosed with hepatitis B when she was 20. She was supposed to receive treatment for a kidney infection that she had, but unfortunately the needle was infected with hepatitis. So she was sick since then. It's 1979, basically. Due to the fact that doctors here in Israel don't share much information and don't have enough awareness to this matter, she wasn't told to do much about it, even when she got to Israel when she was 30 years old. It means like 30 years ago, 1992, which is kind of surprising, and because Israel basically has very good medical support and care, and all the all the tests the person should do and receive are an option here, and we will talk about it later on, but basically this is the fun part about it, that even though it's a very developed country with everything available for everyone, this medical treatment or diagnosis or follow-up didn't exist. So we will talk about it later on. Thank you, and next to present himself.
Thank you, Danielle. Ibrahima, would you like to share about your diagnosis? Okay, we'll see. Let's give you a second to unmute if you're able to.
Hello?
Okay. Yes, we can hear you.
You listen?
Yep. Did you want to share about your diagnosis?
Okay, sometimes I lost the network, the connection is not good.
No
I
problem.
don't arrive to listen you correctly, huh? But I try to continue to assist this session. My name
Sounds good.
is Ibrahim. My name is Ibrahim Gay. Come from Senegal. Okay, I ask about your comprehension.
Yes, we can hear you. Maybe, do you want to turn your camera off? That might help, actually. Okay.
You arrive to listen me?
Yep, we can hear you. Do you want to go ahead and share about your diagnosis?
Easy.
Maybe Lori, would you like to share? And then
Okay.
oh, okay.
Yes, I have co-infection hepatitis B and D.
Yes. And can you share how did you get diagnosed?
About 2010. I started about
So Ibrahima, I think we'll have Lori share, and then we'll come back to you, if that's okay. Maybe you can, okay. I think he'll come back and join us in a second. Lori, would you like to share about your experience with diagnosis?
Thank you so much for inviting me today. My name is Lori Scott. I live in Amarillo, Texas in the United States. And in 2002, I adopted my daughter, my second daughter, from Romania.
Oh, you froze for a
My
second.
goodness.
I think you're back.
Oh, sorry. I'm Lori Scott. I live in Amarillo, Texas in the United States. And I run a nonprofit organization. We have assisted families, thousands of families in adopting children from around the world. So hepatitis B is not unfamiliar for me because we have many families that have adopted children with hepatitis B. The orphanages in many countries are not the best medical situations for children. In 2002, I adopted my second daughter from Romania, and we knew she had hepatitis B when we adopted her. We felt that this was something that we could manage quite easily after researching it. And so not until she was 10 when we adopted her, and not until she was 25 did we discover that she had hepatitis Delta. And that was only by quite an accident. She has other health issues, which we don't know are related to the Delta or not. She has bone lesions. So they began to research Romania to see what else they could test for. And her gastroenterologist tested for Hep D Delta, and she was positive. It was a huge shock to us because all of these years, she's been relatively healthy with her liver. We've had a doctor follow her. So I too have become a medical expert, not by choice. And she is doing well right now, but she does have multiple health issues. And we hope to someday get to the bottom of those to see if somehow they're related to Hep Delta. She manages her hepatitis very well, and currently she sees a hepatologist. Our biggest problem was, and still is, that we do not have a doctor that has ever seen a hepatitis B Delta patient. So our local physician flies in from Dallas, which is about a 6-hour drive from here, and he's her hepatologist. And then her first doctor who diagnosed her has retired. And, you know, neither one of those doctors know anything about hepatitis Delta. So that's been our challenge.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much for sharing.
You're welcome.
Yeah, it sounds like an overall just kind of lack of awareness in the medical community in general, and always kind of a shock to discover these diagnoses. Ibrahima, would you like to share or to try again to share about your diagnosis?
Hello?
Yes, we can hear you.
Hello, Beatrice?
Yes, we can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes. Now I try to connect with my my mobile phone.
Okay, I think it's better.
I lost every time about the PC.
Okay.
About my laptop, not the connection is not good. The PC.
No problem. Do you want to share about your diagnosis with hepatitis Delta? So I think we might move to the next question, and then Ibrahima, hopefully your sound will be better and you can speak about your diagnosis in the next question, if that's okay. So the next question I wanted to just ask about is about if there are any treatments or kind of when you received your diagnosis, sort of what your doctor said to you about what treatments were available. Or if they gave you any kind of instructions for managing the disease. I think we know that treatments for hepatitis Delta, while there are new ones in the pipeline, they have been hard to come by, and there really hasn't been a viable treatment. So I'm just curious what your doctor kind of told you about management of the disease. So we can start. Danielle, would you like to start kind of about your mom's experience?
Sure. So I'll tell everything about the diagnosis too, because I didn't talk about it earlier. So basically, if I want to talk about awareness in Israel, that was part of the missing diagnosis. Basically, I'm not sure if you all know, but Israel is a brand new country. It exists like 70 years. And in that matter, it contains people all over the world. So there are many people from Romania, Russia, East Europe. So these days, hepatitis is not something common that people have in Israel. Like nobody born in Israel has any kind of hepatitis, but still people that are coming from East Europe came with it to Israel. So doctors, when you talk about this disease with them, they know what you talk about. They see cases of hepatitis B and Delta due to the fact that there are people coming from Romania and Russia. But still, I feel that I'll just tell about it. So 6 years ago, which is 2060, my mom had a stomach and waist pain. So she went to her family doctor, which sent her to make an ultrasound. When she was doing the ultrasound, the technician of the ultrasound saw that she was supposed to look at the kidney, but she saw like something is wrong with her liver. So the technician, which is not a doctor and not everything like it, told her, listen, you should go and meet specialist, a liver specialist urgently. So that's what we did. We went to a specialist, which recommended to do an MRI and blood test for HDV, which came positive. So basically she was in Israel from 1992, and the first time any doctor sent her to do HDV test was like 30 years after. Nobody told her to do follow-ups. Nobody told her to do ultrasound. Nobody told her to go see a hepatologist regularly. And we talk about an advanced medical care system. So this shows like the huge gap of not really be aware of this disease, although it exists. So I think it's a big deal that in this case could have been solved much earlier, not 30 years after. So basically, after we did the MRI and HDV test, it came positive. It was the first time that she did an HBV viral load test, which also came with huge tons of viral load, which were never taken care of. Never nobody told that there is medicine for HBV. So again, we talk about 30 years after. So after visiting the specialist and receiving the results, she started to receive for the first time entecavir, which is a medicine for HBV. And it was told that there is non-available medicine for HBV, just clinical trials. So as we waited for the clinical trial to open, it was the lonafarnib medical trial, which still goes on. As it existed like in several hospitals in Israel. Every hospital I had another branch of as a part of this trial. So we were told we have to wait like 1 or 2 years until the trial begin. We waited again. We went to one of the best doctors in Israel. They didn't say anything about any treatments or things she needed to do during that time. So after 2 years, when it was time to be part of this clinical trial, they wanted to examine her to see if she qualifies all the criteria to join the trial. So they told her again to do an MRI test and blood test, and for the first time to do an endoscopy. When she did the endoscopy, she first discovered that her condition is already cirrhotic. She had cirrhosis already, and she has esophageal varices, esophageal veins. When again, nobody said or told us that it can arrive to this situation. Nobody told before to do esophageal, to check the esophageal veins, to do an endoscopy. And again, we were at one of the best doctors. So this was the first time she discovered she had esophageal veins, which sadly were in a very advanced situation already. They were big and dangerous. So sadly, she wasn't able to enter the trial anymore. And again, we wanted to understand if we have an option. Is there anything that we can do in the meanwhile? And the answer was no. The only instruction was to lose weight and to do exercise 3 times a week. Nothing about food or any other clinical trial that exists or nothing like that. So in this situation, we were very, very pissed because like naturally, you could have told us 2 years ago to make the endoscopy, maybe we would have discovered it earlier and receive the right treatment to not get to this situation. So we understood that we have to do like a real self-research to understand what we are facing and what we need to do, sadly alone, because we didn't feel that we received the right support. And so we started to do that. And then we discovered that there is a medicine called Hepatitis, which was just approved in Germany that time. Unfortunately, my mom has a German citizenship. We all do. So then we just said, okay, she lives partially in Germany, but because she's most of the time in Israel, because of us, she did all the treatment in Israel. So we went to Germany to understand if we can receive the medicine. Gladly, we did. So she's being taken care with Hepcludex for 1 year. And right now, like her situation is getting better. The HDV load are getting better, but it's still not very known, like if it's going to be a complete cure or just take the load down. And the sad part about this medicine, it's first of all, you have to self-inject yourself every day, which for her it's very painful, and like it's stuck. And like every day you need to do it. You have to like not do any other plans, and it's all about this medicine. It has to be taken care of very cold, and to take it with you all the time. Even if you go, I don't know, camping, you need to have a fridge with you. Like all the spontaneously goes away, and you can stop it, because if you stop it even for one day, it's very, very dangerous for the liver and can make it even worse than it was before. So right now we are just like, okay, this is the situation. We will just continue. We don't know what will happen and if she will like be cured or have to take it the rest of her life. Like things are not very clear. So right now, yeah, she just does the injection. We just hope for the best. And another thing, like for example, I'm part of all the cirrhotic groups all over the world on Facebook, and over there the recommendation is to tie up the esophageal veins because it's dangerous. And in Israel we saw 8 different doctors which all said dramatically not to do it. And then you're just again facing the situation what to do, because in this case it's every different countries states different recommendation, so you're very, very confused. So yeah, this is basically how it all turned up to discovering she has those diseases and how we are facing them right now. And again, even about the recommendation, for example, we thought like naturally, like, is it safe to fly? You know, because the esophageal veins basically are made out of pressure. So if I go out on a plane, like the air pressure, can it make them explode? And then the doctor is like, yeah, well, yeah, she can fly. And then, you know, it wasn't said. So what if she flown tomorrow and you didn't say anything about it, but she could have died on the plane? So the recommendations are not really deep enough to understand what you're facing. Like, and then we read like, yeah, you can enter a jacuzzi or a sauna. It's small things, but if a doctor once said him, the normal simple person won't go online and do all this research. So what, tomorrow he will enter a jacuzzi and maybe die? I mean, this recommendation have to be part of the medical treatment to tell people exactly what you need to eat, what you can't eat, what can you do, what can't you do. I mean, people don't, from my opinion, don't need to go online and search for their life. Yeah, it's search for your life, what you can or can't do. So for example, right now, we will talk about it later, following up your questions, but one of the biggest, sadly, stuff that she can't fly. And in Israel, you can't get out of the country if you don't fly. You can't live by land. So it's a big emotional and physical problem that she has to deal with. So we'll talk about it later.
Yeah, so thank you so much for sharing that story. It sounds like a huge number of challenges, and especially, you know, not receiving the information that you need at the time that you're supposed to receive it, and, you know, then, you know, not being eligible for a clinical trial later. So yeah, so that's a tremendous amount of challenges. I'm so sorry she went through all of that, but thank you for sharing.
Pleasure.
Yeah. Basu, would you like to share a little bit about how it was recommended for management of Hep Delta for your husband?
Okay. 9 years ago, my husband, as I said, 9 years ago, my husband diagnosed with hepatitis B and D. And that time in Mongolia, there weren't any specific treatment or diagnostic methods in Mongolia, especially some blood tests and some MRI tests for liver. That's why we went to Korea for a specific treatment and diagnosis. It was so financial. It had some little financial pressure on our life, because traveling to Korea and go to the hospitals is very expensive, because we are foreigners Korea. So all of the cost of the health service was so high, and we felt so nervous about our health problem, also financial problem. Yeah. And after I arrived from Korea, we have been taking some medicines, for example, some hepatoprotective drugs, yeah, and also some antiviral drugs for hepatitis B. Unfortunately, there is no proper medications or treatment for hepatitis Delta in Mongolia. So we are waiting for hepatitis Delta's treatment. Now at this moment, my husband works very good, and he fortunately he hasn't any medical problems and other complications, but we waiting for the hepatitis Delta virus treatment, because her Delta virus is very active now. So yeah, so it's one kind of challenge for us, because our country is developing countries, so sometimes there is no proper treatment and proper diagnostic methods in Mongolia. If you wanted to go abroad for treatment, the cost of the health service was very expensive for us. Yes, so financial problems is one of the most important problems for us. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I appreciate you sharing that. And I know that healthcare often puts a lot of burden financially on people around the world. And I know Hepatitis is slowly starting to become approved in more countries, but still has a very long way to go to reach people who really need it in a lot of the world. So thank you so much for sharing. Ibrahima, would you like to share a little bit about your diagnosis and the management of hepatitis Delta that was recommended for you? Maybe Lori, would you like to share, and then can see if Ibrahima can unmute.
So our journey started when we brought our daughter home from Romania, and we already knew she was hepatitis B positive. So we started her with a gastroenterologist for a pediatric gastroenterologist, and that gastroenterologist was 2 hours away. So he fortunately had a clinic ever so often here in our city. He felt that she contracted the hepatitis.
Lori, I think you froze for just a second. We'll give it a minute to come back. Ibrahima, are you able to share?
Okay. That is now I think I just now I think some connection I have some connection to tell something about me, because the network is not good. I try to listen, you're not good. I try to speak, not good. But
No
now
problem.
she's for me. Okay, not the connection is not availability. I don't know.
Okay, no problem. Do
But
you want to
for me-
share your story?
For me, just since 2010, I have a diagnostic positive about hepatitis B, and after any diagnostic in 2011, the diagnosis revealed my hepatitis D is positive, and this time I start a big difficulty for me about my healthy, because I try to have a follow-up about my healthy, but not easy in my country. Because this time we haven't we have about 10 doctors in my country to follow all the patients who have hepatitis in my country. Okay, I lost network. Okay.
That's okay. You're back.
And the big difficulty. Yes, I have some difficulty after the diagnosis is positive about hepatitis D, because when I go, the doctor tell me now I need to take treatment about hepatitis D, but the treatment is very expensive. I go to look about officine, about pharmacy. I don't find the medication, because the treatment who the doctor ended me is Pegasus. Hello?
Yes, we can hear you.
The interferon. Yes. Yeah, he tell me I need to take interferon. After
Okay.
I go about a lot of officine, no interferon. And I go to see the doctor, he tell me, but now you go about one officine in my country, have possibility to make a command for me. When I go about this officine, the name of officine is Gigon. The name is Gigon. It's very difficult to have this medication. Now you need to make a command. You give a lot of money, and they pass the command. And after the command arrives, I can take the medication to begin my treatment. And they tell me about my treatment, one injection, one interferon, I need $245 for one injection. Be difficult. About the month, I need $1,978 for the month for injection. And it's very difficult to take it. After I go about my bank to take a pray morning about the bank to begin my treatment. And after the first money who the bank give me not is few to continue the treatment. Finally, I go to take another prep about my my office who I work. I take another financially, and finally, I finished to buy my house to follow the treatment. Because for the treatment, I take first about 1 year for injection. After 1 year, my money is enough. I don't have money. I stop the treatment. When I stop the treatment, the hepatitis delta come back. Because for the delta, we have just only medication in my country to keep good the delta. The only medication is interferon delay. And when I stop the interferon, my healthy not good. The delta arrive again, and I need to take it again. And finally, I take it about 3 years and half. 3 years and half with a lot of money. And after I can't follow it, finally I stop. And when I stop it to take the treatment, I stopped about some years, and finally my health is degrade. My health continues to degrade, and finally I have a complication about my liver, and 2026 and 27, I had the first operation of liver about shamio embolization. And after this operation arrived to stop the progress of cancer, and sometime after, the complication continues to make up, and finally in the last year, in 2021, I had a new complication. Finally, I had what already I have
A transplant?
no, the last operation. I tried to find the name in English is the transplantation. I have a transplantation. Since 2021, I had finally a transplantation of liver transplantation.
Mm-hmm.
And now, Alhamdulillah, presently my health is very good after this operation. I can have a good solution. The transplantation is very good now. I have a good health.
That's wonderful. So you froze a little bit, Ibrahima, but thank you so much for sharing your story and your journey and all that you went through. It was, quite a lot. So I'm glad that you're on the other side of transplantation, and I know you're doing so much work in the fight against hepatitis. So thank you so much for sharing and for all that you do. And now, Lori, would you like to share your story of management recommendation?
Okay,
So-
now this. Yes, I lost the network. It's not good. And after this time, the liver transplant, my last result give me a good news, because now I lost my hepatitis B, I lost my hepatitis D, and the liver transplant is very good actually. But for me, Alhamdulillah, it's very good now. But about my population, about another patient who have hepatitis D, actually is a big problem for this population, because the medication about interferon pegylase not disponible now in my country. It's not disponible. I have about 10 patients who need to take this medication now, but they haven't. It's not disponible. It's a big problem. And before I make a good fighter about the Minister of Health about the program national of who have the decision about hepatitis in my country, and we arrive to have solution about the medication, to have a subvention about the government, but this subvention is not go a long time. Just about one time, 1 year, 2 years, they stop it. And now we haven't the subvention about this medication. Who patient need this medication about interferon? Go about the first officine who I go to buy my medication, to go to make a new command for to have a
Okay, so thank you so much, Ibrahima, for sharing. Lori, I think we'll go ahead and take your
Okay.
story now. Thank you.
So I'm not sure, I got cut off, so I'll just kind of start at the beginning and move fast. When I adopted my daughter, it was apparent to the doctors that she probably got her infection from a dirty needle. She remembered later on in the orphanage, them lining up the children and injecting them with the same needle. And so we feel that she probably acquired both of them at the same time, the Hep B and the Hep D. So no one knew about the Delta, and her pediatric doctor just said her viral load of Hep B is very low. She is going to clear. She's going to be fine from this. We're not worried about it at all. She could possibly be a carrier. And so we went through her entire childhood through the time she was 18, believing that she was going to clear of the virus. We did not get her. As a matter of fact, when he released her, he said, she's good. You know, I don't even think that she needs follow-up. So that she will clear on her own. So we went to another physician who suggested merely that we go and establish her with another gastroenterologist, which we did. And he tested her at that time, said that her viral load was negligible, which we know now that Delta can suppress that and the Hep B viral load. So all the doctors were reading it incorrectly and not knowing that she had Delta, they were just waiting for her to clear her virus. Unfortunately, her health declined, not her liver health, but other health issues that she had. So they were watching her liver very closely. She would have a sonogram every 6 months. She would have another specialized test every 2 years to check the fibrosis in her liver. And not until the doctor became curious and actually did some research regarding hepatitis in Romania did he test her for hepatitis Delta. And we were very shocked that she had it. And it was a new journey that we had to somehow, get on the train for. And so we did. And she had a liver biopsy and it showed very minimal fibrosis, which was very good. So we have this whole time maintained a organic diet, chemical-free diet. When I found out she had hepatitis, that's the way we started. And I believe that her diet is a huge thing of how she's been able to stay healthy. However, anything can happen, and we do not have a hepatologist that knows anything about Hep B and D as a co-infection. And we're going to change that. We're seeking to have a consult with a specialist now. However, that doctor is not going to be the one to manage her. And so the only way that we can actually get management if she were to get more sick is we have to go out of town and out of state and maybe out of country. I don't know. We have been doing the out of state, situation for her medical for a long time, because medical becomes a specialized situation where doctors are only taking care of certain things and they have to refer you to another doctor and refer you to another doctor in our healthcare system here. And, I wish that testing for hepatitis Delta was automatic. If a B positive happens, that needs, in my opinion, that needs to happen all over the world, that is made available to do that, because there are so many people suffering that do not know. I mean, you know, my daughter, until she was 25, we didn't know. And so she had the co-infection probably at least 20 years. And fortunately, she's doing well right now, but we're at the situation kind of where Danielle is, in that we don't have a doctor to manage this. She cannot fly either. She has extreme motion sickness. We don't know if that's related to anything or not, but she cannot fly. She can't travel well, even in the car. So we have a situation where if she gets ill, we may have to move somewhere to take care of her. And so it's hard. And I am very thankful that I can share this story. We all have completely different stories. So it's very interesting that everyone has had such a different situation and outcome. The doctors here, as far as treatment, have told her, we can treat hepatitis B, but you won't make it through the treatment. And because she is very thin, her health is not well in other areas. And so we have leaned on that. But she's a young woman who wants to, you know, have a family, get married, be normal. And unfortunately, that has not happened for her yet. And we would like to see that happen.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for sharing, Lori.
So
and
welcome.
Yeah. And I think there's so many important points about, you know, a lot of the kind of emotional and other sort of effects that the disease can have, having care be located really far away and having to travel. Just, you know, the treatments that are available. I know, Ibrahima, you had mentioned the interferons and how challenging those are, and that, you know, those are still what's available in a lot of the world, and even those are not accessible. So, and then of course, the importance of screening everybody who is living with Hep B or Hep Delta, as you mentioned, Lori, which is done in some places, but not in others, like the United States, for example, it's not recommended. So many really important issues here, and you all have such unique stories. So thank you so much for sharing all of them. So we are coming up at the top of the hour, actually. So I just want to say, if anybody in the audience has any questions, please feel free to put them in the Q&A box so that we can address them. And that is the only way that we can see your question. So if you raise your hand, we can't actually see you. So if you do have a question, please type it in the Q&A box. And in the meantime, I will ask one more kind of final question of you all, and that is just kind of why is raising awareness and just spreading the word about hepatitis delta so important? And what types of advocacy do you think should be practiced around hepatitis delta? I know we kind of touched on this a little bit, but I will just open it up if anyone wants to share their perspective.
I think that it would be amazing to have materials to give our doctors, because our doctor had to research on his own. And unfortunately, he didn't tell me anything that I couldn't find on the internet. Mm. And so we had to research heavily. And I think a packet of materials that can be sent with patients to their doctors, or even, you know, available out there, and then awareness made to the physicians that this information is available. At this point, I'm surprised that a gastroenterologist in Dallas does not know about hepatitis delta. Very surprised. And so therefore, my trust is low. So my trust is low with that physician. And unfortunately, this is the way things are right here. And for all of those people that are from other countries, the U.S. doesn't have ideal medical situation either for this condition. And we all need to work together to try to change that.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I would like to add, if possible,
Yeah.
that I don't think it's even a matter of a good or a not medical system, because as I said, medical system in Israel, it's one of the best, and our hepatologist is literally one in the best in the world. He was even part of the development of Hepcludex, and still we didn't receive all the even he didn't tell us about the existing of this medicine, because it doesn't exist in Israel, it exists in Germany. He didn't tell us still all the recommendation and the warning signs and the thing that we need to follow up. So even if the medical system is okay, this is the frustrating part, because you think you are in good hands with good doctors. It's a good doctor. There's nothing we can say about him in the good medical system. And still you need to do your own research, and still there is missing information, and still you need to look about everything. So I really agree with Lori that I think we could all work together about it, that just like make a brochure that can be sent to people, to doctors, whoever needs it, with all the like a checklist of all the tests you need to do and what you need to eat. Even as Lori said, like organic food, like it's a basic thing, I think, for a doctor to recommend organic food when we know that all the food these days is full with I'm not sure the word, like toxic stuff.
Pesticides.
Yeah. So I think it's really, really important, even more for people that don't have access to good medical care and can't even have the access for basic recommendation. But even in advanced countries, this information is still missing and still not given to people who are in bad condition. And for example, in Israel, we opened the group for like liver problems, and people are asking their stuff like all day, sharing their experiences and what they receive or didn't receive. And you see such a huge difference between the recommendation from experts in hepatitis. So I think there should be something that just gathers all the information with worldwide recommendation that everybody agree on, and just like give a start to each doctor, even if he's in Africa or Asia or Middle East, Europe, South America, everywhere. Just a simple thing, even if you don't have the medicine. It's not only about the medicine. So I think it's very important.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's really important to emphasize as well, that it's, it does go beyond the medicine, as you said. So I think we do have one question from the audience, which I'll just try to get in before we close. So this is, what are the strategies that you use to advocate for yourself in the doctor's office for your Delta diagnosis? So any tips on kind of self-advocacy for making sure your voice was heard?
Can you repeat the question, please?
Yes. What are the strategies that you use to advocate for yourself in the doctor's office for your Delta diagnosis? And I think some of you guys touched on this a little bit, but if anyone has more thoughts to share just about how to make sure your voice is heard and your doctor is hearing what you're saying.
Well, we immediately requested a specialist, and there is a specialist in Dallas that has been very involved in all of the trials and hepatitis B. However, we were told that the doctor didn't want us to go see this specialist, even though he saw patients periodically, because he didn't want my daughter to have the treatment. And I did not understand, I think that it's super important for us to find someone who knows about this. I'm not sure why that was discouraged. And so because of that, you know, when he retired, I suggested that he find someone that knows about hepatitis D and who is a hepatologist. And instead of just a gastroenterologist, there's nothing wrong with gastroenterology, but I wanted a specialist for my daughter. And I said, we'll go anywhere. But we were just told that, you know, here is the one that I recommend. And we're shocked when he had his first visit with us and he said he's never seen a patient with Hep Delta.
Mhm.
So advocacy to see specialists. And, you know, at this point, we're just going on our own, which means that we have to pay on our own, which is very difficult for us.
Absolutely. Well, just in the interest of time, I think we will wrap up, but thank you so much again for sharing. And I know, I think we touched on a lot of the other burdens of the disease as well, financial, emotional, et cetera. Shreya, would you mind sharing the final slide if you can? And I'm sorry, we're going a little over, but thank you everyone for hanging in there. And I just wanted to say, if you could move to the last slide, please. Sorry. Thank you. And just thank you all so much to all of our panelists truly for sharing your stories and offering your really unique perspectives of this really challenging disease. And I think it's so helpful because hepatitis delta is hardly ever talked about. So it's really great to, you know, for you to share your experiences. So it's truly, we're so thrilled to have you here and grateful for your time. And we also really appreciate everyone participating in today's webinar. Thank you so much. We really hope you found the information informative and valuable for your work or your life and that you can use some of this information going forward. We encourage you to complete the evaluation form when the webinar concludes. And again, a recording of the webinar and the slide presentation will be emailed out to all attendees. We also encourage you to sign up for our newsletters, which we have for both providers and those living with hepatitis delta to be added to our email list and receive updates about hepatitis delta, drug development, clinical trials, research, and other news. And I will put those links in the chat as well. And these will also be shared following or in the follow-up email for the presentation. Please feel free to reach out and get in touch with us using the contact information on the slide for more information. And thank you so very much again for joining, and have a wonderful day, everyone.
Thank you for this amazing opportunity for all people with hepatitis all over the world. Really, it's amazing.
Thank you so much. Yeah, we so appreciate your time, and we hope to have more of these going forward. So, so thank you, everyone. Have a wonderful rest of the day. Bye.